Yeah, there we go. Hi, I'm Jay Ryan, Late Night Playset. I wanted to say a couple words to you first before we started the show today. When we left you 2 weeks ago, uh, we thought, hey, it might get crazy. Kind of joking around. It's gotten pretty crazy. Uh, Reels. So, there's a few things. We went dark to try to figure out some format changes and some business direction for the show. Obviously, all this coronavirus stuff, quarantines, a lot of things. Everyone's being told to work from their home and to telecommute, etc. We have the ability to do that. So we are up and running, and Late Night Playset is happening. And our guest today is TJ Russell. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But basically, all hell broke loose. The quarantine, we talked about that. Format on the show. That's one of the reasons we were dark last week, as I mentioned. Our show has always been more of a tight interview type show. And lately, with everything that's been going on, as well as our desire to sort of broaden it a little bit, we think we're going to, I guess it was always more of a conversation. And it still will be, but I think we'd like to broaden that conversation a little bit and incorporate you as much as possible and find out how you're dealing and how you're doing going through all of this, because it's crazy. Did I mention? Yeah, seriously. So with that, we're going to be opening up the format a little bit, playing a little more loose, and hopefully that should be a little more fun to watch as well, because we have got a lot of time to spend together. With that, I think we're good here. Just keep spreading the love. Please, I say at the end of every show, we love you. Please love one another. My God, I mean that more now than ever. And Mrs. Ryan and I just love you all so much. And we are all in this together. So with that, speaking of which, come on over here. Let's see. From Universal City with Love, direct to your streaming device with no touching whatsoever, it's Late Night Playset. Tonight, the Baja 11, his own self, TJ Russell, is here. Plus, what the hell is going on? And introducing phone calls. Yep. What's up, Mrs. Ryan?
It's weird outside.
It's weird in here. They were all out of the masks that we were supposed to buy. Plus, we missed Friday the 13th entirely. So that's my opportunity to do that.
Thanks for playing along.
What's happening? Oh.
All sorts of everything.
Everything's new. All the stuff is new over here. Give me a moment. Gosh, I guess I pretty much summed it up in the opening there with what's going on. Mrs. Ryan, what's going on with you? Not the real what's going on, but how the hell are you doing? Welcome back. This is a real deal. Welcome back.
Now everyone gets to see what I do every day.
What do you mean?
What you do. Wipe down everything and walk and stay home and work from home and self-quarantine.
Well, we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. Welcome back to you at home. Today is Tuesday, March 17th, 2020. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Holy shit. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans. This is Late Night Playset. And our guest this evening has braved the air and the people and whatever it took to get here today. TJ Russell, the Baja 911 is here, and we're going to have a great conversation with him. He's sitting right here looking at me right now, and we have a camera for all of that now, which I'm excited about.
Yay.
What's going on, brother? Thanks for doing it. Thanks for being here and everything.
Thanks for inviting me down.
Looking forward to it. We passed you on the street. Well, I don't know if it was you driving, I'm assuming, but on Lancashire one day.
Probably.
Was that in that monster?
Yeah, I'd say it's my daily right now.
Oh, that's right. It's his daily driver.
So
That's
it's hard to keep out of it, you know?
That's a riot. All right, well, we're going to talk all about that in a few minutes when he gets in here. All right, yeah. So we're back. We have been everybody, I guess, has been given direction to work from home. That's not very difficult for us. We have already built that into our existing infrastructure. Mrs. Ryan, what were you saying before as far as what on earth we do every day that other people are just catching up to?
wipe things down and pay attention to what you touch and who you touch and people around you and stuff.
Yeah, just a general awareness.
Yeah, it's paying attention to the common sense things that we grew up with is really important right now, and it's super important for us all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is interesting, though. Everyone, how are we gotta be home all the time? And people are, well, I'm gonna have to learn to meditate, and I'm gonna have to order weed, and all these things, trying to figure out how to handle the anxiety. You know what I mean? This was unintentionally built into our life system 3-4 years ago, and and actively for 3 years, where we've been home and working from home. So. It's weird that everyone's sort of panicking about a lifestyle that we adjusted to already. Nothing has changed that much other than the lines at the grocery store. That's new for me. And the fact that we can't order groceries anymore, which used to be a nice benefit because everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Instead of just the people who might have, physical ailments or whatever.
Yeah. Think people, when it's important, it's important.
Yeah. Well, I think you're important. I think everything's important. I think I've never been more we're all in this together in my entire life.
Agreed.
9/11, we had a bit of that. This is the globe. The globe.
All of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness. Let's see. While we were gone, anything new while we were gone? Lots of gear.
I know you did lots of stuff in here.
Yeah, why? Well, we got some care packages while we were gone. Telefunken sent a nice surprise box with new booms in it, beautiful new silent booms, which are very nice.
Thanks,
no more of
guys.
that sound from before. The springs are gone and stuff, and a bunch of other new equipment. So I did spend a lot of time in here doing new things. Hopefully, you will be able to see some of that stuff in the coming episodes and weeks to come as we unveil some new stuff.
Yippee.
What else? Let's see. We originally had gone dark for a bunch of business reasons and everything, and then the world is sort of just catching up with all of that. I wanted to do an East Coast feed,
Okay.
because we have to catch up with them, and then I was even thinking about checking in with the East Coast feed. So let's
All right.
see how we do. I know we're already eating time here, but I feel that everyone. No one has anything to do but time.
New Earth, man.
It's a weird thing. Yeah, it's a weird thing. All right. Check in with East Coast Feed, Danbury Chive, and I think we're Brooke and the Casman here. Let's see where they are. Roll it, Hal.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, look, it's Brooke and the Casman. Here's Jen. But wait, hold on. You know Jen from meditation. You met her before. She's been on the YouTube show. But here's Larry. Let's see Larry. Larry, how you doing? You back here? This is Larry's place. Larry has this is a room in the house is a bar. There's a urinal. Let's talk about it. So he has a bar here. We're in Pennsylvania. We came to visit him for the weekend. This is our getaway trip to relaxation. And like I said, she's our meditation person. This is our thing. Look, we got pool tables. The walls are adorned in Looney Tunes. And he has T-shirts that say Larry's Looney Tune Bar. You see, you can't get this everywhere, randomly enough. This is our random East Coast feed. Everybody think about it, Jay and Nicole. We good? Brooke, don't talk too fucking much over here, please. Bye. There we go. We love you guys.
They're awesome.
There you go, Mrs.
I like your sweatshirt, Brooke.
What was it?
This one.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so used to seeing it on you. I didn't even notice. That's a riot. I think it's neat to have a Looney Tunes bar. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they go together? The cartoons and the drinking? I guess. What's the difference?
Probably.
I guess it's just your love. All right. Let's see. See if I can do this right here. And we'll check in if this works. And if I got the number right. This will be another phone call here. We'll be checking in.
Thank you for calling BMW Richfield. This is Gabby speaking. How is your call?
Hi there. I'm calling for Steve Kazan's service, please.
Certainly, may I have your first and last name?
Certainly, David Canary. Now, between you and me, David Canary's dead, but he did used to be a customer of hers. He was also a guest on my show in high school. He was the actor who was on All My Children and he was on Gunsmoke and shit before that. But he did actually used to be a customer of Kaz's, so.
That's funny.
Thanks for holding, this is Steve. How can I help you?
It's David Canary calling. I'm stuck in my X5 on the New Jersey Turnpike. and I'm locked in, and I need your help.
It's so funny 'cause I heard the damn guy. I'm like, didn't he die? But then again, he had a twin, so you never know.
Oh, he played twins. He played the twins, Adam and Stuart, on All My Children. Sarcasm, man. It's Jay and Nicole, and we're sitting here with TJ Russell, and we're on the show. We're live at the moment, and we're calling to check in and see how you coping. It's a new segment we're doing on the show called Mrs. Ryan. What is it called?
How
you
coping?
coping?
We're coping well. The good news is our job never shuts down because apparently we're essential to life. And we're here. Brooks' gym got shut down because they shut everything else down on the planet. And
But car dealerships are okay.
Yeah, we're doing good. The baby's doing good. Everybody at home's doing all right.
Forgot.
Nobody's
On the phone.
We're looking okay.
Oh my goodness! Well, that is amazing to me. All I can think of was when we played the other day on the show. We played you had a breathalyzer in a customer car. You were breathing, and I was thinking,
you're not doing that anymore.
no, but I'm wondering how you're dealing with it in general. Do you guys have to wipe everything down for both protection
Oh my
on both
God.
sides?
Literally, as I speak, Julie's walking past me with Clorox wipes, doing every handle. They're doing every steering wheel that comes in, every shifter
Yeah.
that comes in, every emergency brake that comes in, every desk, every mouse pad. Take your pick.
That's crazy pants.
Yeah.
You got to do it though, right?
Oh yeah, you got no choice at this point. And nobody's shaking hands. Every customer is giving you the elbow bump.
That's what we just did. I just learned that one. Oh man.
There's a foot one too if you want to do ankles, but it's a little fucking weird if you're standing at your desk.
I'm not into that.
All right. Well, you guys are good there. We're probably going to check in with you periodically just to see how you're doing, both at Ridgefield BMW and at home.
We will, I promise. I'll be giving the nice East Coast feed of that as well. Trust me.
All right. Please give our love to everybody there. We just watched your Looney Tunes bar video. Very funny.
Love it. Great.
All right.
Love you
Love
guys.
to everybody there, and please be safe.
All right, guys. Love you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
We got that done. We did it.
Yay.
Mrs. Ryan, that's everything on my list.
You did everything.
No, we got to. Oh, he's still here. Oh, except for hanging up with guys. Love you, buddy. Bye-bye. Ruining the illusion. Oh, my gosh. I feel like I've gone a mile a minute or whatever. Shut the hell up. Now it's your turn to talk. Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question on everyone's mind.
Dun, dun, dun.
Seriously, what the hell is going on, Mrs. Ryan? Dun, 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 dun.
All the news is coronavirus related out there, so I picked and choosed around it because we all know that's happening.
You're wise. Wise woman.
But what was something I found out that I didn't know. Japan's school year is totally different than ours, and it ends in March and starts in April.
Okay.
And
Isn't the whole
so
calendar different than ours? Okay, sorry. But
some
different
people follow different New Year's and stuff.
Gotcha.
But the school year, so anyway, the school year is in the midst of all this when people aren't allowed to go to schools and gather and all that. So elementary school kids built in Minecraft a graduation ceremony.
The video game.
Yeah.
So they could all hang out together and do it a virtual.
So they could still have one and still
Wow.
talk to their classmates and
That's
not try
awesome.
to shirk anything.
And if anything, they all built it together. So there was some teamwork and camaraderie and all that
Yeah.
stuff as well. Oh, that's
It's
cool.
a really neat way little kids are attacking this. Like adults are all freaking out, but kids are like, my buddy's on the internet. I can deal with it.
Like it's all ones and zeros if you know how to navigate that shit these days, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool.
There's ways around it.
Good for them. Way to go, kids in Japan.
I know we talked about this briefly, and everything's crazy. I don't know what football will look like when it comes back. When it's coming back, like, who knows?
Right.
But a former Michigan colleague of mine, Tom Brady, went on record to say he's not going to be with the Patriots anymore. He's a free agent as of tomorrow.
Saw that too.
So
Apparently,
who
he
knows?
went and met with Bill Belichick last night and the whole thing, and they had their sit down and just whatever. Decided to part ways.
Yeah. He's got companies out here in California now. I think he grew
Tom
up
Brady?
here. Yeah.
Well, that's when I saw the story I saw in the news. They've said, well, L.A. may be one of the places he would consider coming.
Yeah.
L.A. Chargers, with
Chargers.
San Diego, L.A., whatever.
You never know. But
Yeah.
it's everything's different. So
Cool.
we get to start over.
Oh, right. I see. It's a fresh start. That's the, yeah. Didn't you say something about this when 2020 hit? Like, oh, it's astrologically or, some energy or something? It's
Yeah.
a rebirth or... Was this all part of that? I'm asking you because I don't know what the hell to do.
There's a lot in the energies, and everyone can apply differently. But like this certainly gives credence to my theory of like, no one's following old stuff.
I just look outside and I see biblical stuff. I mean, it's Ghostbusters out there. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Whatever. I don't want to go down that road. You know what I mean? It's fires one time, it's floods another time. And then
There's a lot happening, but I like Tom Brady because I went to college with him. I don't care per se.
Were you there at the same time?
Yes.
Oh,
We
that's
went
cool.
to parties and sports stuff together.
Oh,
a
no
lot.
way.
Yeah, so if he comes back here, that'd be red.
All right, fair enough.
You never know. And then lastly, Nintendo I grew up on, but like with Duck Hunt and like Mario
Super Mario Brothers and Duck
like
Hunt
all
for
that.
sure. TJ, how old are you?
36.
Oh, so it might have been a little bit. You still had that?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
cool.
My first video game system.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah,
We
Nintendo.
had an Atari. Parents had an Atari, but I was super young. Like I was probably
Did you play it though?
Yeah, a little
You
bit.
knew how to play it?
Yeah,
I did
so
not.
And yeah, a little bit. But Nintendo was my first real memory of it.
Yeah, me too.
Mine too. And like when I grew up, it was like achievement oriented and like try
Oh.
to get to the end of like the level and get to the next one. And
Yeah, it's interesting.
everything was racing to the end and how to beat your friend at the next level and all that. So Nintendo is like, okay, everyone, slow your roll.
Settle down.
And yeah, and so the new game they're launching is called New Horizons, and it's not constant. Like it's maybe an hour at a time. They're saying, and you get
Oh,
points.
you play it in segments?
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
like how much time can you spend on our gaming device. It's like you earn points for doing chill shit, like having conversations and learning to fish and fishing for your.
Seriously? Mm-hmm. And this is all virtual in the game?
It's all virtual in the game, but like it.
It's teaching people to calm down a little bit?
I think so.
Okay.
You can always look at ways to apply them to yourself, but
Okay.
like it's a virtual way to calm down.
What does it have a name?
New Horizons.
Oh, you said that. That's right. I'm trying to Super New Horizons was I call it. Super Mario Brothers.
By Nintendo.
Hey, and that's been. Oh, what's going on, Mrs. Ryan? Dun, 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 dun. Very nice. All right. We've gone yabber, yabber, yabber for long enough. 17 minutes, Mrs. Ryan. Take a break.
Okay.
Get our guest, TJ Russell, in here.
Cool.
Also, one thing I wanted to say, because I probably will forget to say it later, too. We do want to know how you all are doing with all of this. So something we would like to do to make this a two-way street, send in videos. Send in videos
Please.
to the Late Night Playset or Porsche Life. I guess Late Night Playset probably is better. Instagram. Show us what you're up to. Show us how you're coping. Show us how you're dealing. Show us how you're hunkering down. How are you guys quarantining? What are you eating? How are you cleaning your cupboards? Like, we're all going to go pretty stir crazy. This is day 2.
It's day 2. I've seen on
This is day
Instagram
2.
friends with doing stuff with kids. No one knows what to do. So share videos.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Like
Please
share
do.
information.
I'm assuming a lot of our people are going to spend a lot of time in the garage. I know I'd be polishing wheels or doing whatever right now, So send it in. And that's it. All right, time to do a quick break. Mrs. Ryan and I
Okay.
at Late Night Playset will be right back with TJ Russell sitting in that chair to talk all about the Baja 911 and life and all the other stuff. His Toyo Tires shirt, all the things. Late Night Playset will be back right after this.
Oh, so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by Bears. Garlic and serrano mixed with love and care. You can put it on your eggs, pour it on your rice. It's great on a leg, it's better on a slice. It's oh so delicious. It's the hot sauce made by Bears. Oh, so delicious hot sauce. Great on everything except oatmeal.
Get your bottle today at ohsodelicious.org. $1 from every bottle sold goes to the National Military Family Association.
Here, if you're good with that, bring it on back. And that's it. We are back, and we are back, and we are sitting here with TJ Russell. What's up, brother? Thank you
guys
so
doing?
much for being
No
here.
problem. Thanks for having me down.
Oh my goodness! Thanks for making the time, especially given the
Well,
we'll call it climate, I
These
guess.
days we've got nothing but time, so
Well, all right. That's a great. It's a great way to look at it.
nothing else to do.
I know that we passed you a couple blocks from here, so I assume that you might be in the neighborhood. Is your shop around here,
Yeah,
or do you?
I'm 12 minutes away up in Sun Valley.
Beautiful.
So I've been driving around. I've been making the rounds.
Yeah, sorry,
When
we
it came.
passed you in the Baja 911.
Yeah, cool.
That was very cool.
Yep.
To see it on the street is wild because I akined it to remember when you first saw your the 10, 20 years ago, whatever it was, when the first H1 was like you saw that for the first time on the street, and it just was wicked wide. It was too wide for the lane. It was just something about it was just, that's too much. And that's what it looked like
Is
when
it?
you were, in the best way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm used to the H1
and
now.
I'm inside of it, so I don't get the perspective from. But it's slowly becoming. I mean, I guess it shows how good social media works. But from time to time, I'll get messages of like Baja 911 spotting going down like the 15 or something like that. So it's
And
like,
you're
man,
just-
people are paying attention. That's pretty cool. So.
Of course they're paying attention. But when during those times, it's not an event or anything. You're just headed somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
heading
Just going to
somewhere.
dinner.
Yeah, I was going to the Dino one day, and then I think heading down to Huntington another. But every now and then you'll get people that follow you and recognize it, and so it's cool. I guess that means that our marketing department is doing good.
I would guess so, and I would also assume that happens to you quite a lot.
It's starting to. It was fairly rare, months ago, but it's the more out, the more people see it. It's kind of.
Well, we'd seen pictures for a long time on social media when you were doing your build, and then I'm thinking the PEC. There was a PEC morning shift, or maybe the anniversary. Something was going on there where you had it up on the curb.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, here it is in the flesh. It's wicked. It's mean. It's yet kind of friendly too at the same time in the weirdest way, like a bug might be, like for a kid, an insect type bug. What the hell, man? Where did it come from? Why'd you do it? Where did it start? How'd you do it? You know what I mean? Like as much as you want to tell people. I'm curious about all of it.
Point the microphone at your face
Yep.
before you talk.
Oh, yeah, there
Let's
you go.
see, where did it start? I guess we'll start back with the Porsche thing. I've always, aside from the Porsche thing, I've always been into off-road and dirt. I grew up racing motocross
Okay.
and go-karts and off-road.
Did you grow up here in California?
I grew up in Colorado. I moved.
Really? You're a real outdoorsman.
Yeah. I raced motocross every summer from the time I was 5 to when I moved out here about 20. So that was a big part of my life. And I came out here to get into stunts.
Wow.
Stuntman. I was big into motocross and freestyle.
No way.
And I figured if I was gonna wreck and break bones, I might try and get paid for it. So
Just turning you up a little bit.
when I came out here, I ended up working for a company called Picture Car Warehouse, where we
Get out of town.
We built movie cars.
You know Picture Car Warehouse very well.
Yep. So that.
What year was that? Which
Ted
location
Moser.
were they?
This was back when
It was
they
still down at
started
LA Center?
Yeah, at Pico.
Oh, wow.
The-
Long time
the
ago.
original, the old. I think it was a Home Depot at one time. before
No
the riots.
shit.
So that was with Ted Moser's a good family friend.
What year was that?
That would have been in 04 to 2008,
Okay.
probably around that time. And then
Wow.
when I went to LA Center Studios.
Wow.
For that time, and then a little bit when it was up in Chatsworth, I think Northridge.
I don't know where they are now, but I've heard that they have a beautiful facility
I think
now.
up in Northridge still.
But did they build a new place or something? It's
I think they
supposed
moved
to be
a
really
couple
nice.
times. I haven't been to the new place, but
Are you a movie car guy? Like,
not necessarily. I guess when I moved out here, that was kind of like, oh, look at this, like little kid from country in Colorado. I'm building movie cars, and so that was kind of a dream come true. And that newness wears off when you realize that you put your hard work into something, and then it's just a prop on set. So it's cool. For a couple of years, you're like, oh, the Fast and Furious cars, and then this, and then that, and it kind of wears off. But
well,
it turns into a job.
for me, it was exactly what you said. You put your heart and soul into making something, art,
Yep.
and then it just gets absolutely destroyed,
Yep.
ripped apart, and then left to rot.
It's just a prop. Nothing
It's
more.
nothing to it.
Yep. So that was where, in order to pay for the motorcycle and my off-road lifestyle, I got a job working and building cars. So that's where the whole fabrication and car thing really took over. I did a couple stunt jobs and got into that, but slowly and surely that kind of went to the side, and building and metal fabrication was what I picked up.
Wow.
Metal fabrication is really what hooked me and got my gears turning. I spent, my whole childhood was building models, and even before that, Legos, and I was always tinkering and building stuff. I wasn't much of speaking of Nintendo, I wasn't much of a video game guy, so I was outside doing stuff, building stuff, breaking things, and that's kind of
that's
how
it.
that,
You're getting there.
how that kind of evolved as to being, a craftsman and like my mechanical
When you were a kid, did you like take your toys apart and put them back together and shit like that? Yeah, I was that
RC,
kid too.
Yeah, RC cars at Christmas, and for a long time, Dad got mad because I wouldn't put them back together. Right, so that was the next evolution was to figure out how to put them back together. So I was doing that, and I think one of my fondest memories was I took my own training wheels off of my bicycle.
When you were ready, or
Yeah,
just because
I think we were 4
these come off?
Yeah, I was about 4 years old, and I knew where Dad's tool set was, and Dad was working during the day, so I noticed we had a long inclined driveway, and there was days where I'd go down it and try not to touch my training wheels, like that was the goal. So all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna take these off. I think I'm ready, and found Dad's tools and
I need
slowly
some more
got 'em
clearance
off. And
here.
I remember he came home, and I was riding circles in the driveway with no training wheels, and he was like, "What?" So I think that was kind of the turning
You knew
point
you were
of, like,
ready.
it was time to start doing stuff. And then, racing motocross, I was, after school, I was 10 or 12 years old, and Dad would be at work, and so I would do the top end replacements on my dirt bike. So I was at a young age, out of necessity, yeah. So I would do new top ends and port and polish my engines on my 80s and 60s.
How old were you then?
I think 12 was when
That
I
is
was
so-
porting and polishing and
That is so young, but
gapping
not.
rings and new pistons and top ends, and I would always prep.
It's intricate work.
We would race on the weekends, and I would practice and prep my bikes during the week, and that was our team. That was how we got it done.
But you get that that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think now when I look back and being around more people that aren't mechanically inclined, but when I grew up, my neighbor raced motocross, and so he was there to kind of coach me through some stuff. And
So your
mention
curve
the
was
mechanic.
already.
All one side of my family owned a service station for 50 years, my grandpa and my uncles. So in the summers, I would go work on cars. So I think you look back now and it makes sense. But when I was a kid, that was just what you did. Like, that was normal. So I remember being small enough, they would set me in the engine bay, and I would reach all the studs on the back of the engine that they couldn't reach, and get greasy and dirty. And that was like,
I'm assuming this was wicked fun.
Oh yeah,
This
of
sounds like
course.
for a kid.
Oh yeah,
this
getting
sounds
greasy
like the
and dirty,
best
and that
childhood
was
ever.
awesome. Tools and
you're helping though,
Yeah.
even beyond. So
Yeah.
the parents are like, hey, he's okay.
yeah, they were just big Legos, right?
Wow, that's so cool.
So that's where the mechanical and building aspect, and then we'll, I guess, fast forward to about 9 years ago, when I linked up with Singer Vehicle Design.
Oh,
So that was my introduction to the Porsche world. Until then, I was building hot rods and old American.
forgive me, I didn't realize this part of your story. So you worked at Singer as a fabricator.
For 9 years, my shop did all their fabrication. So
There you go.
yeah,
Who
Did
knew?
not know.
and it was kind of hidden and underground for a long time. We didn't want to really have visitors, people coming to see. So we were
Secrecy?
we were subcontracted by them to do all of their fabrication and shells. So 170 cars I got to build for them. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Pretty proud. Yep.
Holy cow! Congratulations.
Is that a relationship that is still?
Yeah, we're still good.
Okay.
I mean, no need to.
Forgive me for poking around.
No,
I-
it's
I'm-
totally
it's
okay. There's
new
no
info
need to get
for me.
into the stuff. But for 9 years, we were.
Tell me about
we
your
were-
departure.
We were like family, and it just got to the point. I did so many, and I have ideas of my own and aspirations, and that's where the off-road 911 thing that's actually been 3 years in the making. This isn't just, I know the world sees this just came out, but about 3 years ago, I would see the cars that they would bring in were all stripped down, sandblasted, primer black for us to do our fabrication on. So I had a bare canvas to like envision and measure things and see, and at that time, the Safari thing had just kind of blown up. Lee Keen was
Sure.
probably responsible for doing the Safari thing and making it a thing. Of course, Porsche has a history of racing off-road, which legitimized that sort of trend. But I just wanted to take it to the next level. And being in Southern California and an off-road enthusiast, we're in the mecca of off-roading and trophy trucks and race trucks, and the fabrication on those is the best in the world as far as motorsports fabrication goes. So that's where
Because
my
it needs
lo-
to be, right?
Yeah, and my love and like fascination for overbuilt and fabricated, mechanisms and machinery, and it's just they're works of art, right? And they function. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of where the two those two worlds kind of blended in for my idea to take this like off-road Porsche 911 to the next level.
I love the term overbuilt.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't like the term over-engineered. And they're two different things to me. Do you?
Very much.
Okay, so you would agree. What would you say the difference is there?
Well, I think I'm a fan of the Porsche 911, but if there's ever a car that is over-engineered, it would be a 911 when you break it down. And I remember taking the wiring harness out of the car, and two harnesses stretched from the back of my shop to the front. And you're like, man, this can be way easier and more simplified. So that was a big thing in my builds, was to simplify things and use technology in today's. And again, they're great cars. But they 30 years ago, the tech side was different than it is now. So
I like to say there's a lot of streamlining that can occur, and folks like you probably have that wherewithal to do so.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make that a speed bump, but
so that was.
So the overbuilt, I think, is awesome, because to me, that's all of a sudden, I've got something that can handle anything you throw at it.
Yep.
So to me, that is like, ooh, all right, what do you got?
That was kind of the vision there, is to build something that would withstand.
But that's what other people were thinking, right? That's what the Keens builds and the other. They're already doing that. You went beyond.
Yeah.
Why?
Because a Porsche driven in gravel roads is cool, but there's a whole nother world of off-roading, and you get into California deserts and northern Mexico, southern California. It's gnarly. And it's fun. But beyond that, it's if you're going to claim to be something off-road, why don't you make it really, really worthy? So that was kind of the vision there.
Is the Baja 911, it seems to be almost a little bit of everything. It's not just I wouldn't even call it a safari car. It's not just a rally car either, though. I would almost call it like a crawler. It's a trophy truck. It's kind of everything, right?
Trophy truck's a different category. I know a lot of people.
Oh, forgive me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Totally okay. But I would never disrespect the trophy truck community.
I see.
Claiming that, right? That's a whole nother deal. I know.
Then forgive me. I didn't mean to disrespect the trophy
totally,
truck community.
No, totally okay.
What I meant more on the lines of that, when I see that craziness. I think the best
explanation I've come up with is it's a dual sport car, meaning me wanting to do this as a business. It's cool. You can make the gnarliest, rigid, off-road machine, but where's your market? How are you going to sell that, right? Okay. And as a businessman, as a business owner, you need to make something marketable and something that people desire. So the Porsche enthusiasts, the wealthy guys who are really into these cars aren't, let's go put a helmet on and thrash a car in the desert. Chances are they've never even been in the desert to go drive. Mm-hmm. So that's where the dual sport aspect of this, make it daily drivable, give it some luxury amenities that these guys would like to use, but also make it capable of doing things that they normally wouldn't put the car through. So that's where the leather interior, the air conditioning.
I didn't know it had AC. I didn't realize that.
The fit and finish and all that aspect, and you throw it in a car that mechanically is sound enough to go do things like that. So that's, to me, where the business that's the market.
So I didn't even realize that. I guess I'm learning stuff right here and now. But I didn't realize the interior was so comfortable, for lack of a better term.
Yep. And I guess the biggest inspiration is luxury pre-runners. If you're familiar with the off-road world, these guys that go pre-run Baja, okay, they don't do it in their race truck. They do it in a pre-runner, which is something that's a little more comfortable. Of course, you're not trying to go 100 miles an hour through the desert. You're trying to take notes.
Okay, this is them learning the course or whatever?
Learning the course, taking notes, and pre-running. A lot of those trucks are probably the baddest vehicles around. They have leather, AC, navigation. Really? They seat 4, super comfortable, so you can go out and do your reconnaissance and take notes.
Are they all scratch built, or are they?
Yeah, a lot of the teams. There's some companies out there. Guys are Brothers and Stewart Raceworks. There's a lot of shops that make them. I'm just naming the two that have been an inspiration through my time.
Sure.
But they are pretty much a full-blown race truck, trophy truck, with modern-day amenities. And to me, that's like the awesomest vehicle you could have. So.
I have to agree with you, but I'm only learning about it right now. Like, what a cool thing.
Yep.
It's just the extremes on both sides.
Yep. So I think that's where I found, dealing with my history in the last 9 years, building Porsches and the high-end clientele, mm-hmm, and the fit and finish that they respect and like. And if you do things to extra levels, it's appreciated, right?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we're not making a commodity. These aren't just cell phones. These are rolling pieces of art. And for people with money who are successful and like to enjoy things like that, they appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I try and make everything, design our own parts. We make all our own suspension. The whole car is one-off, basically. There's, I think, 5 or 6 items on the car that we purchase off a shelf and bolt onto it. But other than that, Rod Emery, guys like that, are a big inspiration on craftsmanship and making your own parts. So we're not trying to sell a lot, but we're trying to make a very, very, very good product.
Well, that's incredibly impressive to me. I mean, the Emery products obviously speak for themselves. So if you're even making a comparison there, you obviously are feeling very strongly about your work.
He's a good friend of mine and inspiration. He's helped out. He's been a guy that I can call and ask questions to, and he's more than welcome to.
Such a good dude.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he helps out, and he answers his phone anytime I give him a call, and he's like, "What do you need?" I'm like, I just got to ask you some questions. What do you think? And he's there, so he's a big inspiration. He's a great guy.
Well, you're in good company then. I mean, you mentioned, you had background at Singer, and then, you've got influence from Emery and stuff. What I was going to say was, in looking at this car, and I know there are other ones being built now, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple on order.
All right. Well, at least, but it's the same one I've been seeing around, like at Sierra Madre. That was you in the same one.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing I notice is it is art. It's art.
Thank you.
It's an art car.
Thank you.
And I don't know anybody who wouldn't see that, but I mean, it just is. I didn't realize that was so intended. I thought it was like, oh, well, he did this thing, and then, maybe it got here.
Yeah. It's always, I mean, I think you were on the same page, but taking things to the next level, and not things just not being good enough.
Okay.
So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's some of us have that. It's a curse and a blessing, I guess.
Are you always just turning it up a little bit?
Yeah. And I guess that's always that drive to be better. I guess that's probably that competitive nature from motocross.
Yeah.
And racing is to be better than the next guy and not just be okay, cool, here's what I'm doing, but try and outdo number 2.
What I know about motocross is it's got like almost 100% injury rate.
Oh, yeah.
How badly have you been injured, and is that why you don't do it anymore?
Yeah, I slowed down. I was big into the freestyle and then the backflips, and I tried.
Oh my God!
I made a living doing it for a year or 2.
Speaking of Nintendo, this was Excite Bike when I was a kid.
Yep. But yeah, multiple concussions and broken bones and surgeries, and this is why.
But you're flying through the air. You're doing that shit.
Yeah. Yep. I actually had a couple
in the arenas and
couple world records at one time. I had the longest backflip on a pit bike. And longest distance jumped on a pit bike. I got big into the little stuff, the pit bikes. They were more fun, and being out here in the city, they were. I don't know. There was a time where it was a huge like deal and trend was the pit bike stuff. And
What's a pit bike?
Pit bike is like the 110cc. Basically, they were the bikes that you drove around in the pits.
Tiny frame
at a motocross race. And yeah, small. They're little kids' bikes basically. They're little kids' bikes that we modify and put suspension on and in big motors.
Was it the same thing as a mini bike when I was a kid? They called it a mini bike. So the same thing we saw Paul Newman riding around on the pits in that video we saw.
That's what I hoped.
It's a trendy portion in time in the motorcycle world. So.
Speaking of video games, there's a video game called Trials. Do you know that one? Like time trial, something like that. But
No.
it's everything you're talking about. And you can ride those little bikes and everything.
Sure,
and
there's
almost crazy shit.
Ones,
Wow. All right. So world record holder, forgive me for not doing that research. It's been a weird week. And then was it actually an injury that took you out of it? Or?
No, I just chose.
Okay.
You get hurt, and there's a turning point to where you have to, like back when I did it for a living, you look at the ramp and you're ignoring the thought of injury, right? I can't die. I can't get hurt. But that's what it takes when you're doing the stuff that we were doing is you have to ignore that. You can't have fear in the back of your head. And then there was just a day that the switch changed. And it's like, what am I doing? Like, is it worth it? You have a couple friends get paralyzed and a couple friends die. And all of a sudden you're like, well, at one time it was, I can make a living out of this. It's a career. Make a name, do this trick, beat this distance. And then it's just, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, you got to, at one point, you got to just transition. You get older, and you can't do it anymore. So, It's awesome. I did it when I was young.
If you were that good at it, though, did it feel like a calling at any time? Though?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I'm so good at this. This is
Oh,
what I'm supposed to be doing.
all I was going to do the rest of my life.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was what I'm going to be is a professional motocross rider, and that's it. That was it.
Right.
I'm gonna go further, jump higher, be faster than the next guy.
And maybe you did. You did all that stuff,
Yeah.
so you achieved it, and
Yeah.
then it was okay to move
Yeah.
on.
And it was
Wow.
okay. And you realize, when you're young, you see all the pros on TV that have fancy cars and make millions of dollars. But it's rare. It's rare. But they all went through the same path. You got to get hurt and pay your dues. And it was, I have no regrets. I got to travel the world for 4 months and see everything and get paid to ride a dirt bike. It was awesome. And what's cool is that chunk of change that I had saved from that is what opened up my first shop.
Oh man.
So I had money. I saved money. I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to go work for anybody else. I want to build what I want to build. So I took that money, opened up a shop, bought a few welders, a lathe, a mill, just the tools that I thought I needed, and opened up the shop. And then started building cars and got a name in our area. And that's when I linked up with Singer. So there's nothing but take chances.
So it all worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Take chances, follow your gut, follow your heart, and that's kind of what led to.
I was going to ask you a few minutes ago, and then you sort of just got there. I was going to ask you before, are you a deep guy? Are you a deep thinker and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And then you just said follow your heart and everything, so I sort of believe
Yeah.
you must be.
Yeah.
You're an artist too, so are you connected to like the artist tether? Do you believe that these thoughts come from someplace else, or are you the guy who's like, I fucking came up with this? There's no wrong answer, you know what I mean? Because you need a little ego.
Everything's inspiration, right?
Yes.
Something has to inspire, however small and minute it is.
Bravo.
There's something that sparks that fire. So
Not everybody celebrates that though.
And that's every artist. It comes from somewhere, whether an upbringing or bad or good. It might not be good either. It might be a bad spark.
I totally agree with you, but I feel like you've probably run into some personalities that don't necessarily celebrate those same fundamental beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got a different passion, I guess, and some people that don't click and see. But each their own, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. What do you want to talk about? What's interesting with you these days? Like, why? What are you? How are you dealing with this fucking crazy world?
You know what? Honestly, I don't think it's as bad as we are being told.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think there's without getting into crazy conspiracy theories, I think there's something else going on in the background of all this. If you look at the numbers of affected and deaths, it's not that scary. It's even not as bad as the flu. But we're all smart in stopping it before it gets bad. Right? So lower the curve, lower that the curve of damage that it does. But it goes to show you today what how powerful media is and how the whole world is 10, 20 years ago, we might not be hearing about it unless we read a paper, but it's the world we live in right now.
Because the access, you mean? The access?
Yeah,
like you have access to global news?
We know that somebody in China right now is freaking out, where years past we would have no idea unless your neighbor's freaking out and your neighbor's neighbor, and we kind of heard of it through the grapevine. But, I think it's all good if we can minimize the damage that's occurring.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as bad. Do you guys know anybody that's sick from it?
I don't know anybody who's sick from it, but I do know people that were traveling overseas that were saying it was much worse there than we were being told here at the time. Now, this is a month later, so who the heck knows?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I trust my friend,
Yeah.
but I wasn't there. I don't have any firsthand.
Yeah.
I've just heard stories of people that are affected in different ways.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are like their productions that they were working on have shut down.
Oh,
And
financially, all over the place.
Economically,
Yeah.
this is huge.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, but I just mean like people traveling or like don't know what to do with kids, like all that stuff.
Yep.
But I don't know sickness, I
Yep.
guess.
Yeah.
But one thing that's I guess always try and take the good from something. This is awesome that everybody needs to shut down. Like we live and I've noticed myself in LA, like the difference between Colorado and here is it's 100 miles an hour all the time. Like I'm stressed when I'm driving. I got to go.
Yeah.
And this is like a mandatory. Everybody relax, breathe, spend some time with your family. you know.
Yeah. Those fundamental, there's a lot of stuff that we got away from
Yeah.
as a culture, as
Yeah.
people individually, as families, whatever. And I agree. When it
think
comes
we'll
to
all
like
see it.
wholesome values, it's kind of nice to watch everybody
I hope
pull
everybody
together.
sees it, and like year after year, we go, remember that break we had? How awesome it was! And I know there's other countries that have, you know, their New Year's, they shut down for a week or two
Mhm.
to celebrate things, and I think it's good. If you're
Yeah.
gonna take anything good from it, like we look back and go, man, that was nice to just.
Doesn't hurt to take a beat.
Work's not that important. You've got family. Work's going to be there. I mean, everybody's got to pay bills, obviously.
Yeah.
But to just stop and sit down and be with your pets and your family, and maybe I've talked with your family a little bit more. You know, we have plenty of time to sit on the couch and make phone calls and talk and reconnect. With
Let's
family
connect,
members.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we got to see the good in that.
Love that.
And the roads are clear.
Don't get me started. I haven't been wanting to say anything because
Yeah.
the roads have been clear.
Yeah, I got here extra early. I was like, man, I'm early. we were just talking about that. You know, normally LA, you plan for whatever time it says, and then
plus
20 minutes or so, and
At least.
a lot earlier. So stay home, everybody. The roads are clear.
We joked about before the show about, you know, skeleton crew here and everything else, and then we kind of got into again a fundamental conversation of who you are and how you run your business. You're sort of a one-man show too, a little bit, right?
Right now, yeah.
How does that work? Isn't that a little bit your personality too?
Yeah. A little bit of solidarity, I guess, and peace and quiet. I mean, obviously, to make a big business really work, you need employees and you need help. But I found this past year, you know, and had to lay everybody off and had to take the chance at building this car. I just had enough money. I've self-funded.
Right.
But had just enough money, saved up to build the car, to float myself for 12 months. You know, at the time, no girlfriend, no child. So I had
No responsibilities.
So this was my goal. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to commit to it. So once, you know, with that being said, it's and as a craftsman, I'd like to learn more and learn every aspect of building. So a fabricator by trade, I got to teach myself modeling and carving and composites and all these sort of things. So,
actual, not 3D
Yeah.
modeling, clay modeling
yeah,
and stuff.
Well, clay, but I used foam.
Sure.
Right?
Wow.
So the whole, to get off topic, but the whole left side of the car, I carved out of foam to model it and figure out what I wanted it to look like without doing it the computer way. I like, you know, the old hands-on way.
I love that.
you.
So,
Yeah, we.
back to the
Praise.
doing things by yourself. We were talking about how I love your setup and you've got cameras and it's just you, but that's what started our conversation about kind of being a one-man band. And it's nice to I feel like these days there's a lot of companies in the car world where your boss and owner doesn't build cars and he's a businessman. And I feel like there's a that's the stepping stone from being really, really great and just existing was your boss needs to know what he's talking about when he's pointing at you and saying do this and do that and giving suggestions. So for me, my first step before, you know, obviously I'm committed to this, if this takes off for a decade or so, I need to know every aspect of that build. And so I wanted to teach myself composites and modeling and suspension I'm good at and metal fabrication I'm good at and sheet metal I'm good at and design I'm good at, but learn all the things that you're not.
Yeah.
So A, you can teach people, but B, when you go to outsource certain things, you need to know if you're being bullshitted.
Yep. Just in general, you know.
Exactly. So I can ask questions. I go to different vendors that are helping with composites and carbon fiber and in CAD work, but you need to be knowledgeable and savvy enough to know if somebody's bullshitting you and if they're telling you the truth about some things. So this is all a big self lesson into the bigger picture of this business. So
Is that intuition and insight, or is that somebody who's been burned a couple times from experience? Because it could be either one or both.
Yeah, it could be both, but being able to see ahead to not get burned.
Bravo, yeah, foresight.
Be a couple steps ahead.
Foresight, love that.
Because, lessons are, failing is a great lesson. It's not always bad.
No,
Failing's
it's never
good.
bad
But
if you zoom out far enough. It's always good.
If you learn something from it and you're better the next day because of it, it was a benefit. But let's minimize the damage when the failing occurs. So just at least, you might do business with some wrong people or make some bad decisions or or design something. You're like, man, you get done with it. And you're like, oh, I should have just done this and tear it all back off the car. But you learn.
Don't say
And
that.
well, that happens. That happens. I took my rear fender on that car. The front, went perfect.
Mhm.
Carved it, pulled the fender out, carved it, and it was very important for me to keep this like Porsche shape.
Mhm.
Make it. I didn't want a Jeep to look like a Jeep shop.
Sure, sure.
An off-road 911. It was, and seeing the clientele that in the Porsche world, they're probably the most picky of all the car people. So it's very important to make that look very Porsche. So I got the front dialed in right away. It came out great. And the rear, it took me 5 or 6 times. Just I get it to a point, and you shave too much off. And so you add. And then at one point, I just ripped it off the car and started from scratch. So that's part of that 6-month process of.
And that's
of
one
going
side at a
through.
time too.
Yeah, and that was I just did one side of the car. I
Right.
didn't want to try and
And then scanned it.
Yep.
Smart.
Yep. So
So you got a little bit of
learn
best
the
of
hard
both worlds.
do it the manual way and learn,
And then bring in the
you
technology.
use the technology when it's needed, and it's something that I wasn't aware. We could have paid. It costs a lot of money to have a CAD guy sit there and surface draw all your parts,
Yeah.
and you can still run into the same problems once you make your test part. With fitment, it might not fit
Still
right,
doesn't
so you
mean,
can
right.
run into the exact same problems. Well, I'd rather use my labor. My labor's free to me, so I could sit there for 6 months and carve and not pay $1 other than your couple files and some carving foam.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that.
You're learning
and get
either
it looking
way.
right? And everything's different. You can see something on the computer and it looks cool, and then you get it in life and you're like, oh man, that's not quite right. So I had one shot. I didn't have a big budget or investors to like redo stuff and go, oh, let's get it right the next time. I was like, I have one shot at this.
Yep.
So let's get it right, or get it as close as I can to being right. And
So impressed with you. And
that
3
way.
years really is not that long when you're looking at what you've done and where you started and where it's
well,
sitting
and that was
today.
the 3 years was the idea. I built that car from foam to SEMA in a year and a half by myself. So I was
It's all
pretty-
amazing. It's
pretty
all
proud of that.
amazing.
And it
Jeez
seemed
Louise.
like it was a lot of work. The last 2.5 months before SEMA, I think SEMA was in November. About June was when I made a deal with Toyo. I was kind of shopping around and trying to get. I wanted to debut it at SEMA so the whole world could see it.
Yep.
But I didn't want to be in the back corner of the parking lot outside.
So you partnered.
So yeah, just
Yeah, smart guy.
So I just being the business savvy, I had some renderings done. I paid for some renderings, and shopped that around a little bit. I didn't have to go
Saying,
far.
if I build this, will
yeah,
you get on
and,
board?
and I contacted. I had some buddies at Matt Crook at 1552 Wheels, and he's like, well, have you tried Toyo? I was like, no, just give me the connect. Who do I talk to? And so I sent them a picture of what I was doing, and they had already been following the build, I guess.
Ah,
So that was pretty cool. They were
Beautiful.
Porsche guys.
when you don't have to sell yourself to the potential sponsor,
Exactly.
it's always nice.
So linked up with Toyo. So long story short, once we found out that Toyo was on board and they gave us a booth and a big spot and a big unveiling, that's when the rush set. So I had the 2.5 months leading up to SEMA. I worked 18-hour days every day.
Yeah.
No exaggeration. I think I might have had a couple days off. We had a family thing to go to. I might have had 2 days off. Sorry, but it was 18. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I lost 20 pounds, but that was devotion and dedication. And I figure I have one shot
And
to
you made
make
it.
the world see this.
you
Otherwise,
did it.
otherwise,
It's
I don't-
amazing.
this was my budget, and I'm going to make a business. If this doesn't work, I have to go back to working for somebody else, and I didn't want to do that. So it was 2.5 months of the hardest thing I've ever from racing motocross and training and wrestling. There was things I've done throughout my life that required physical and mental toughness.
Wrestling too? Did you mention that before?
Yeah, no.
Oh man.
But yeah, I grew up wrestling that was.
You've got the right stature for
in
it.
Colorado, I had that was the rules with my dad is I had to wrestle in the wintertime to be able to race in the summertime.
Oh.
Keeps you fit,
Oh.
keeps you busy,
Mm-hmm.
and it taught me a lot. I'm a little guy, but it taught mental toughness and being physically fit and knowing how to push yourself physically through things and mentally. So those all go hand in hand. But
Do you know the Adam Carolla's company over there? Do you know anybody over there? Nate Adams is specifically who I'm thinking of. He's from Chassis Media. I thought maybe
No.
you might have run into each other.
No.
He's a hardcore wrestler too, like from his whole life.
No, I haven't done it. I mean, I stopped at high school. So, but the lessons you learn from the things you did as a kid, and mental toughness was. We were talking about that being part of the big deal in this build. was wanting to
Discipline.
quit. Yeah, or just wanting to quit. You come up to a roadblock and something that doesn't make sense, and there's a handful of times I wanted to quit. You're like, God, is it just a pipe dream? Am I the only one in the world that thinks this is cool? Because I've like convinced myself to do it.
Right.
And so you have to step back and just go work on something else. You know, I'd come to a roadblock and, all right, put it down. Let's go to the back of the car. Let's work on bumpers. So you do that and you get to a point, and it clears your head, and then it gives you usually come back a couple of days later and go look and go, oh, have an idea. I go, click, this is what I'm going to do. Boom, boom, boom. And it solves your problem. So instead of sitting there and just dwelling on it, put it aside, walk away, go back to something else, and keep pushing through. So most of the really cool pieces on that car were the product of a problem, not necessarily like a great idea. The rear window, I don't know if you've seen the molded rear window.
Yeah.
That was a product of where am I going to put these coolers? Like the oil coolers and AC condensers are all moved to the back where they're safe. I can't put, stock 911 has AC condensers and oil coolers in the front of the car and the wheel wells. So from an off-road standpoint, you can't, they're too vulnerable. They'll get destroyed. So the only place I could put them was in the back package tray of the car. Well, that created cooling issues. How do I feed it with air? I had little knockaducts. I was going to do the,
Sure.
the purchased knockaducts in the rear window. And I was like,
What we would expect to see.
It's not going to be enough. So did some thinking and a little bit of research as to aerodynamics and airflow over the rear window and high pressures, low pressures, and stuff like that.
Silly question. Yes. Would you have found all that stuff if you just 3D printed everything? Like, would it have alerted you to, like, this doesn't fit?
You mean like in CAD and computer?
Yeah.
If you're using the programs that tell you that, like that's a whole nother program, the fluid dynamics.
So if you don't have that program, you might not know.
Yep. And in order to do that, you still have to have a drawn part to analyze, right? So there still has to be the idea and the part. So
you need the reference in first place.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So what led to that? One of my favorite parts of that car is that molded rear window. It just looks cool, and I'm pretty proud of it.
And it's a solution.
And it took a couple times, and it was a solution to a problem. And I didn't have that idea right from the get-go. And actually, speaking of that, which is, I don't know if you've seen, but the car is based off a cabriolet. It's a convertible.
I didn't know that in the beginning. Whatever.
Yeah. So
your
a
build
convertible,
photos
right?
was how
So
I knew.
I spent a lot of time arcing the roll cage to look and follow the Porsche lines, because my thought was, how cool would it be to go drive down the beach or up in Pismo or in the sand dunes with the top off, right? Kind of like a Ford Bronco.
Mm-hmm.
So that originally was the plan. However, with that rear window being the duck now, I couldn't take the roof off. So it hindered something. Now it's more permanent. But
I still love
the
it.
window's super cool. So it was a good.
I foresee you being able to figure a way around that in the future and offering a Targa.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do it. I just didn't want to have a bunch of aluminum tin work and air ducts. I wanted to keep it really sleek and clean.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate the tactileness of what you're doing. Like, it says so much about, like, not the easy way out of just printing shit and going into a computer. Like, I really appreciate that part of the craftsmanship that you bring to the table.
And it was just an idea, and then what confirmed that idea, Jeff Gamroth, Rossport Racing, my engine builder. Awesome guy. We've come to be really, really good friends, but he came to the shop to visit during the build. He got wind of the product, the car and what we're doing. He came to visit, and we kind of hit it off, but I showed him what I was doing here. And I was like, what do you think, Jeff? If I want to put the cooler here and duct here. And he goes, that's amazing. He goes, that will work. I go, you sure? He goes, here's how I know it'll work. Well, Jeff's he has a 911 that he's been racing off-road. He's raced 2 Nora 1000s and a 500. So he's got experience in a 911. So he mounts his oil cooler up in the rear window, and he's like, you know how I know that'll work? He goes, well, in his setup, he's got the oil cooler in the rear window. He takes cabin air and pumps it out the back of the window and behind the car. He goes, it works pretty good until you're at 60 miles an hour, and all the air pressure above the rear window at speed reversed his fan, and it pushed the hot air back into the cabin. So he goes, I know for a fact that at speed, there's a lot of airflow and pressure that's going to push down into that. It's like, awesome. That was confirmation I needed. But at
Wow.
that time, I had the prototype kind of set in there just to show him. He goes, that's brilliant. I go,
That's so cool.
Thank you.
I mean,
'cause
you
didn't-
basically got wind tunnel testing based on experience,
Yeah.
not the wind tunnel.
And are there is there tech out there that would let me and confirm that data? Sure. You know, we could go to a big engineering company and firm, and we could analyze the fluid dynamics in the car with a drawing, but that's not what I do. I like to do things kind of my way and figure it out, and it was just confirmation that that's what worked.
You're awesome, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there anything that we need to get to that we didn't yet? I'm enjoying talking to you,
I
but
mean,
like we're.
what's your questions? I mean,
Well,
how-
no,
I
I'm
mean,
saying time wise we're pretty good,
okay.
but I don't. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to misuse
I
this,
mean,
this
there's
opportunity.
so many things, and everybody's like, tell us some details. I'm like, I'd have to sit there for 3 hours and walk you through the car because there's so many little cool aspects of it that I'm. proud
That
of,
is the
but-
truth, right? You got to do a walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go down to the garage.
I almost drove it down here today. I wasn't sure about all the weather and parked it on the street. I figured
That would have been awesome. Or just bring it in the garage.
Yeah, we can make another day. You guys come.
That's
Go-
awesome.
Go for a ride.
Yeah, especially if you're right around the corner. I'd love to
Yeah,
come see it.
for sure.
So see the shop and whatever. There is a segment we do called Final Thoughts. It's an opportunity for you to speak directly to camera, to say anything you want. Sometimes people say something inspirational. Sometimes people say, check out my social media. It's really up to you. But
Does
it's,
that mean we're almost over? This went quick.
it's been over an hour, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't take long to sit here and get drowned out and.
Well,
in
you're
our-
very interesting. You've got a lot to share.
Thank you. I feel like we missed a lot.
That's what I'm saying. What should we
I've
get
got
to?
other
if there's
cars. We've got other builds. What are we doing? What's the future?
What's coming up?
All right. So obviously this was the prototype for a business, right? This was a shot in the dark. Let's see where it takes off. Well, I've been making my rounds around the States and trying to go to all the shows that we possibly can, and I've got a few on order, which is awesome.
Okay.
So we are taking orders for these. They're all based off of the same suspension, the same body, and obviously we've got some specs to where color. If you want to go racing, we're getting into the Nora 1000 and the Nora 500 arrive and drives, and we hit a whole new market of successful guys who want to experience that racing in Mexico. So we have a cool platform to go do it in a
Sweet.
unique car.
Yeah.
So that's and then I just want to keep going with the social media and marketing side of it. I've got some cool stunts planned out and some cool videos,
my.
which was part of teaming up with like Toyo and Steal It and companies like 1552. There we go.
And in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about by now, it's this sucker
She
right
is.
here. My goodness gracious.
love that
She'll
car.
never be as clean as that day.
Isn't that cool? That's amazing.
I mean, I built it to go thrash and go have fun in, but man, it was so nice and clean when it rolled out for the first time. It's like it was a shame to go get it dirty, but
I think
that's
it's
what we built.
awesome.
That's the whole point of it, right?
I
Is
think
to
it's
go-
awesome. Yeah, well, I mean, see you at the PCA Concours. I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Yep. Yep. So I tried to make the rounds with it while it was fresh. I knew there was going to be a day we were going to go out and get it rock chipped, and we destroyed it in Florida for the DRT event. We had a big gravel parking lot and mud that we got to go play around for 3 hours, and we gave rides, and
That's so
and
cool.
it was really gravelly and rocky, and it destroyed the bike. I learned that I need stiffer mud flaps. I learned that I need some rock guard protection in certain areas. So it was lesson learned, right? So
You're
but
awesome,
it's
dude.
cool. It's good R&D to go out, but it thrashed it. The rear fenders were destroyed. The rockers were destroyed.
You're
so.
awesome.
But now I've
That's
got
so fun.
Now we've got bed liner and
Is
we've
it
got rock chip guard.
Fiberglass, carbon?
Yeah, it's all composite. Parts
Okay.
are fiberglass, some carbon. So
Sure.
I've had thoughts. Originally, I wanted to make everything out of carbon, just because these guys want to hear that their car is carbon.
Yeah.
But it's
No, I mean, it's true. I get it.
There is no real benefit to the stuff that we're putting it through. You're not gaining anything by doing it out of carbon. We have
Is it because it's lighter that
Yeah,
they want it?
Well, but you can make, like, my new fenders are as light as carbon, if not a little bit stronger. But in stronger, I mean, you add flexibility to the part, which means it's not brittle and it's not going to break. Carbon is brittle. Carbon's super strong, but it will splinter and shatter when it's hit really hard. So the fiberglass that we're using is more forgiving. So a rock coming up into it is more flexible to
Yeah.
vibration. So
more
there's
what you want,
Yeah.
really.
So some of the parts we're going to do, some of the interior pieces are going to be carbon that aesthetically look
Show
really, really
pieces kinda
pretty,
things, yeah.
but they're not going to be getting hit with like softball size rocks and branches and bushes and stuff like that. So
Sounds
stuff.
like you know what you're doing.
I'm learning. It's things that I don't, I read. Or fake it till you make it, right?
Friday mornings. Friday mornings when all this shit's said and done. Hopefully you'll drive it up to Breakfast Club one time.
Yeah, I've been actually meaning to go do that. There's a lot of stuff here in LA to go, and I've just been busy making the rounds. Tomorrow we've got a meeting, so the car comes back. The sad part is the car comes back apart now.
Oh,
So
no way.
I'm making new parts and measuring and redoing stuff that I knew I would have to do. This car was the prototype, and
Sure.
some of the stuff I've got measured and mocked up and templated and blueprinted, and some stuff I don't. So now the roof's coming off, the hood's coming back off, the interior. I'm probably going to go race this car in the 500 in October.
Oh,
In October, we got to put it through. I got to put my money where my mouth is. So
Yeah.
we're gonna go race it. Plus,
Where are you going to race it?
down in Mexico. The Nora 1000 is the
Okay.
old.
It's in
The
Mexico.
Nora races are the old Baja 1000 courses, and they're spread out through a couple days. So it's more of a gentleman's race, but it's probably one of the awesomest events you can do.
I love it. I'm excited about all this stuff as well as knowing you in the future because I've seen your card events and stuff, and now we can say hello to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known.
Of course.
I hope you enjoyed this experience.
This
We
was
totally
awesome.
enjoyed
This
having
is good. I
having
like
you
you
over.
guys' setup.
Thanks, man.
I feel the individuality, and you're doing it yourself, and that's cool.
Thanks, brother.
Don't ever get a big crew.
Thanks, brother.
I mean,
Appreciate
if you
it.
do, that means you made it. But
No, it's a
keep
different
doing
thing.
Yeah, keep doing your thing. I like it. It's
Thanks,
good
Thanks,
bud.
TJ.
Really appreciate
Good
that. Mrs. Ryan, who do we have tomorrow?
Paul Prevent.
That's right. That's right. That's right. This is the weekend where everybody knows our guests. Tomorrow we've got Paul Provenza here, comedian Paul Provenza. Gosh, I used to watch him all through the 80s and 90s on Comic Strip Live and Evening at the Improv.
He hosted the Green Room, right?
Then he hosted The Green Room on Showtime more recently, which is a show we love very, very much. So
Yeah.
Paul Provenza tomorrow. And then Tom Riding's on Thursday. So, all right. Mrs. Ryan, I love you so very much.
I love you too.
TJ, we love you so very much,
Thank
brother.
you guys.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so
being
much
here.
for
Air
coming.
knuckles.
Yeah, air knuckles and everything. Everything. Whatever we're supposed to do. Air elbows, air ankles. We love everybody at home. Please love one another. And goodness gracious, just, hang on to each other. Yeah, check in. And send us videos, too. That's the other thing. Send us videos to show us how you're coping. Talk to everybody tomorrow. Mrs. Ryan, I love you. See you later.
See you guys.